Hi guys, today we are going to be working on our Kente cloth project. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to take a bigger piece of paper, right? So your big piece of paper that we have. If you are working from home and you don't have a piece of construction paper, you can use whatever you have around. So that might be like wrapping paper or scrapbook paper or just a plain piece of paper. Okay. We are using colored construction paper in class. Okay. But if you don't have that, you can take a white piece of paper and color it in if you want to, or paint it, or whatever supplies that you have, but you can add some personality there. Okay, we are going to be weaving with this paper, and so we want to make sure that we're not necessarily painting a picture. We are just giving some color or maybe some pattern to it. Okay, I'm going to show you on this blank piece of paper first what we're doing. Okay, so you're going to take your paper and you're going to fold it in half, hamburger style. Okay, so that it kind of looks like a big card. Okay. So I have this here. Now, I have my crease at the bottom, which means that I can open this up here like this, like a book here. Okay, so my crease is at the bottom and the open flap is right up here. Okay, this is very, very important. Okay, placement on this is important because if you mess up and you've already cut it, so then you have to get creative with how to fix it. Okay, so we have this open here. Now I'm going to take a ruler. Okay, I'm going to just line it up with the edge here. Okay, and then I'm going to use my hand here. I'm going to kind of stretch out my thumb and fingers apart, right, and press down just like we learned in class. Okay, and then I'm going to use my pencil to draw a line going across here. Okay, just like this. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and double check, make sure we're good to go. So if I open up my paper, the line that I just drew should be at the top. I should have all of this extra paper down below. So you can see my crease and I have this line right up here. Okay, if yours looks like that, you're good to go. Now I'm going to close this back. I can still see my line up here. And then I'm going to take my ruler right here, and I'm going to measure every 3/4 of an inch. An inch is a little bit on the big side. Half an inch is kind of on the smaller side. So you want to go for a middle point on those. Okay, now when I do this, it's a little bit harder to go with 3/4 of an inch just because the math gets kind of weird. If you have a ruler that has centimeters on the other side, a really easy way for you to do it is just to use the centimeters and do 2 centimeters because that's about 3/4 of an inch. Okay, but this one for me does not have centimeters. So I'm just going to go with, so here's the 1/2 inch mark. I have the 1 inch mark, and halfway between is 3/4. Okay, and then I can also count from this. So I go 1, 2, 3. I'm counting by fourths, right? So that's the longer lines here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Whoa, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and that's the edge of the page. Okay, so that's good to go. Okay, so I have one, I counted on the 1/4 inches, right? So that's that long pieces in there for those. So it's the 1 inch and then those longer pieces in the middle, and then 2 inch counts as part of a 1/4, right? So I counted 1, 2, 3 between all of those. Okay, so I have all of these dashes up here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler now and I'm going to draw a straight line going down here like this. Okay, now if you are feeling fancy and you would like to do not a straight line, so maybe you wanted like a curvy line, kind of like this. Instead, you can do that. You do need to choose just one type of line though. Some people have also done a kind of chevron line on theirs. Okay, you can do that as well. Okay, but you need to stick with one. So if you were to do chevron, each line would look like this. You would want to keep it kind of similarly apart, okay, like this. okay? But if you want to stick with just straight, that's fine too. Just choose one style of line, okay? You're going to make sure that no matter what style of line you have, your line starts at this pencil line over here and ends over here. It cannot end on the side. It has to go all the way down to the crease area, okay? Or else this won't work out very well. Okay, so you're going to go through and finish lining these out, okay? And once you have all of these lined, you're going to start cutting on the pencil line up here. Okay, so before we do that, let's go ahead and double check ourselves again. So if I open my paper up, I have this line here. I have pencil lines that I've drawn and they stop at the crease, and then I have all this paper down here. Okay, if you open yours up and it's the opposite, you have a line here and your pencil lines all stop at the bottom, then you've done it the wrong way and you need to start this video over. Okay, right? Or you can flip your paper over, whatever works. Okay, but mine looks pretty good. So I have my crease here, it's folded, and I'm going to cut through on these lines, okay, just like this. So I'm cutting, and remember, you only have one style of line on yours, right? But you're just gonna cut each and every line that you have going all the way through here, okay? So then you'll end up with something that looks like this here. Okay, so this is my big example here. Okay, but it has these pieces, right? There is a space on the edge where it doesn't cut all the way through. Okay, but this is the middle. Okay, and it looks like this. Okay, you might have kind of a swirly shape to yours or a chevron type of shape, but this is the first few steps. Okay, so after you've done that, you're going to take some new paper, some additional paper, and you want these to be different colors than what your base one is, right? So this color here is, I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera, but it's yellow. And so I don't want to use another yellow paper. Okay, if you're at home and you're working with just what you have around the house and you have a lot of white paper, again, try coloring those papers in different colors. If you can watercolor them, if you happen to have watercolors at home, you can do that. If you have scrapbook paper, if you have wrapping paper could work potentially, but you just want to make sure that you have different colors of paper here. Okay, you're going to cut those into strips that look like this here. Okay, and we want them to all be about 3/4 of an inch, just like we did with our first one, right? So 3/4 of an inch or 2 centimeters. Okay, and you want about 4 different colors. I only have 3 here, okay? But you want about 4 different colors if you can, okay? And we're going to practice weaving them. So I have the first one on this side over here already completed, okay? Weaving is one of those things that once you kind of get into it, it's kind of calming and relaxing because it's repetitive, but in a good way. The thing is, though, is sometimes weaving has a bit of a learning curve to it. So that means that it's not one of those things that like you see it one time and everybody automatically knows how to do it. Okay, so if you fall into the group where it's kind of a struggle for you at first, that's okay. That's totally normal. It happens to a lot of people. Okay, don't worry about that. So I have my first one done here, and I'm going to show you how to add in the second one. Okay, so I have I'm going to use a black color here so it's easier to see for you guys. Now, my orange one starts on top of the paper, okay? Like it's sitting on top of the paper here. So this next one, the second one, my black colored paper is going to start below, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start underneath and I'm going to lift this up a little bit so that I can stick my paper through here, okay? And then I'm going to come through here. I'm going to pick up my second piece and I'm going to slide this through like this. Okay. And so it basically goes, so my black paper is going under the yellow and then over the yellow, under the yellow and then over the yellow, under the yellow and then over the yellow. Okay. Under the yellow, over the yellow, under, over, under, whoops, over. Okay, and I'm going to keep going through until I get to the very top. Okay, now I'm gonna make sure this is flat. Okay, and you do wanna make sure that if you are doing this at home, the paper that you're using is as tall as your paper is here. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna scoot this close, and I wanna start from the middle. I figured out that's the best way. But I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna kind of use the tip of my finger or my nail to kind of nudge it towards the middle here. Sometimes it helps to kind of lift up the paper to scoot it a little bit closer. You do wanna be very careful because paper can rip, okay? So you do wanna make sure that you are not forcing something to happen because sometimes the paper can't hang with it and it'll just rip. Okay, if you do end up ripping it, try to carry on as normal because with weaving, it basically kind of strengthens it. So you might be able to just kind of weave it back and then later you can glue it down and it'll be fine. Okay, so I have my first one done. You know that this is correct if you have kind of a hopscotch pattern, right? So if I have my orange, see how it's kind of like checkered board like this? Okay, so I have like orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow. And then I have on the side yellow, black, yellow, black, yellow, black, right? That's how you know that you have it correct. Okay, now I'm gonna start with my next one here. So my first one starts on top of it. This one's below. This one is gonna go, if you said on top, you're correct. So this one's gonna start up here and it's gonna go underneath the second one here. Just like this. Okay, so you see how I'm getting that kind of nice checkerboard look? Okay, it's the same thing here. Whoops, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna continue going through this way. Now, sometimes you might accidentally mess up. Okay, so you might end up skipping one. And it will look kind of like this here. Okay, so at first it looks like a nice checkerboard, right? I've got my green, yellow, and then it goes green, green, yellow, green. And then if you look, the colors are right next to each other when they're supposed to kind of be at a diagonal. Okay, if you mess this up, all you have to do is just simply pull your paper back. And I know that I have these first few done. And if you can figure out where you messed up, then you don't have to pull your paper all the way out. If it's hard for you to figure out what went wrong, then you can just take the whole paper out and start over. Okay, so I'm going to pull this back here. Okay, and I know that I accidentally went over these two pieces instead of just over one. Okay, so I can just pull it back to here. I'm going to lift this one up and I'm going to feed my green paper through here and then I'll resume. Okay, so not a big deal if you mess up. We will add glue to this later, but we want to make sure that we are not, I would rather you get it fully done before you add any glue, just in case you did mess up, because glue obviously is a little bit harder to reverse. Okay, so I've got my green piece in here, and now I'm gonna do that same thing again where I try to pull it back as close as possible, starting in the middle, and I lift up my pieces here to kind of help my green piece get through here a little bit closer. Okay, now the reason why I start in the middle whenever I'm pushing it closer, I've learned if you start at one end and you push this closer, the end down here just goes whoop out this way, like all the way out here, and it's really annoying. I was working on another one yesterday and it made me so angry. Okay, so you want to start in the middle. It seems to work out a little bit better that way, and then you can kind of work on the ends from there. Now, while you're doing this, you want to make sure that you are trading off on colors every time, right? So on my green, I would start over with a different color. I wouldn't go with green necessarily. Does that mean you have to go in the same order always? Not necessarily. I just wouldn't put two greens next to each other. Okay, so if I wanted to go with another black one next, I could. Or if I wanted to go with another orange one next, I could. I'm feeling froggy, so I think I'm going to go with another black one. Okay, so I'm going to take my black paper here. Okay, again, this one starts on top. I can see it. So this one is going to start below, right? Just like the first one did. And I'm going over and under the whole way. Okay, so you know that you're doing this correctly if your paper really looks like a checkerboard effect. Okay, so we're kind of just working through this whole thing here, just like this. Okay, and then I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to kind of pull this back here this way. And I'm going to bring this back this way over here. Just like that. Okay. Looks nice and even. I can tell my papers up here are nice. If you are working on yours and your paper actually sticks out from it, maybe because you're working with materials from home and your paper sticks out further than that, you can trim those later. So don't worry about it if it's too long for this. You just don't want it to be too short. Okay. And then I can go in with my next color, which I have over here is an orange. All right, so this one's going to start on top, and I'm just going to feed it through. Over, under, the whole way through. Just like that. Boom. Okay, so I have this here. Again, I'm going to pull this forward. Just like this. Okay, awesome work so far, guys. Now, you're going to continue all the way through until you get to the other side. So I'm going to kind of lift this up a little bit. You'll see my messy desk here. I'm going to lift this up. Okay, I'm going to go all the way through, all the way over here to the other side until it's totally filled in. Okay, then you'll start on the second video. Okay, so this is my example so far. We're going to stop the video here for now so you can get all of this done and caught up. And then whenever you're ready for the next step, you'll watch the second video. Okay, see you in a bit.